Hey everybody, welcome back. 6.4 rhombuses, rectangles, squares. I hope you're ready. We are going to be talking about how different properties of the special types of parallelograms. It's a little bit different than yesterday's lesson where you had a lot of theorems. Today you only have two. So the very first thing, you're going to have a couple of definitions that I want you to write down. Yes, I know you probably know what a rectangle is, but I want you to know the correct and proper definition of it. Okay, so a rectangle is a parallelogram with four right angles. So know that a rectangle, its criteria is that it has four right angles. All right, next one. A rhombus. A rhombus is a parallelogram with four congruent sides. So you don't know anything about their angles based on their definition, but you do know that they have four congruent sides. All right, so that's a rhombus. There's rhombus A, B, C, D. Notice those tick marks. Next, we have a square. A square is a parallelogram with four right angles and four congruent sides. So not only do you have the four right angles like a rectangle, and you also have the four congruent sides like a rhombus. Okay? In other words, if you look at a rhombus and a square, they do have similarities. Same thing with a rhombus and a rectangle. If you have a rhombus and a square is a rhombus, but a rhombus is not a square. Same thing with rectangles. A square is also a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. And the reason behind that is going to be because of the two definitions. A square has four right angles, which makes it a rectangle, but it also has four congruent sides. Same things with rhombus. A square has four congruent sides, where a rhombus has four congruent sides, but a rhombus does not always have four right angles. All right? Moving on. There are two theorems I want you to write down, so please write these down, and these are the only two theorems for this lesson. All right, the very first one says, if a parallelogram is a rectangle, then its diagonals are congruent. So AC is going to be BD. They are congruent. That's the main piece. All right, so your diagonals are the exact same distance. Second one, if the diagonals diagonals of a parallelogram are perpendicular, what does it mean to be perpendicular? 90-degree angles. So if they come at a 90-degree angle, then the parallelogram is a rhombus. Okay, so notice we have these 90-degree angles here. Because those are 90-degree angles, then FGHE or EFGH has to be a rhombus because they come together at a 90-degree angle. All right? So same thing if you went the converse of that. If it is a rhombus, then the diagonals of a parallelogram are perpendicular. Okay, so same thing with parallelogram. Okay, a rectangle. All right, moving on. All right, so it says a woodworker constructs a rectangular picture. Frames that JK is equal to 50 centimeters and KL is equal to 86 centimeters. Find JM and LM. So I want you to write this down. Please draw this shape, all right, and give this one a shot. All right, so if you look at this is going to be a rectangle. All right, so that's the biggest part of this rectangle. So that tells us the shape right here. JK is going to be 50 centimeters. KL is going to be 86 centimeters. Now what we need to do is we need to find JM and LM, which is this side right here, all based on those pieces of information. Okay? So we know that a rectangle is going to be a parallelogram. And a parallelogram tells us that opposite sides are congruent. So the reason, or sorry, not the reason, so we can say that KL is going to be equal to JM and that JK is going to be equal to LM. The reason behind that is it's a parallelogram, which means opposite sides are congruent. So because KL is equal to 86, JM has to equal 86 as well. Same thing with JK and LM. If JK is 50 centimeters, LM has to be 50 centimeters as well. Okay, and we all know a rectangle, opposite sides are congruent, but the reason behind it is because it is a parallelogram. Awesome. All right, now looking at this shape, I want you to be able to tell me what shape between a rectangle, a square, and a rhombus each shape is. Okay, so now looking at this shape, we notice that there are, all the sides are 4. Okay, so what shape is that going to be? All right, it is going to be a rhombus. The reason why it is a rhombus is because all 4 sides are congruent. So you do need to know the definitions of each of those because you need to be able to label what special quadrilateral certain shapes are based on their information. Next, last one of the day. Turns out to be a nice, quick lesson today, so lucky you. All right, we have TUVX is a rhombus. That is a big piece of information right there. Okay, and what you are going to do is you are going to find the value of x. So based on that information of TUVX being a rhombus, I want you to find the value of x. Give them a shot. All right, so if you look at TU, V, and X, it is a rhombus. So what does that mean? That means that all our sides are congruent. Okay? However, that doesn't tell me about those angles, right? We have the angle 60 degrees and we have X degrees. But we do know another piece of information based on rhombuses. What do we know about the diagonals? The diagonals bisect each other perpendicularly. Is that a word? Perpendicularly? They bisect each other at a perpendicular angle. So all of these angles are going to be 90 degrees. All right, so based on that information, we can figure out x very quickly. We know that a triangle has a total sum of what? 180 degrees. So if we add up all of these angles, we can figure it out. So we have 90 plus 60 plus x is equal to 180. Subtract it out, x is going to equal 30. 30 degrees. Okay? All because of we know the definition of what a triangle is, we know what the definition of a rhombus is. We can use our deductive reasoning to figure out x. All right? That is all I have for you today. It's a very quick, easy lesson, I believe. I hope you enjoyed it, these short few minutes we had. And I will see you later.